Hey, welcome one all, one E to well, this is a half century, 50 episodes, and it's amazing. We've got Stevie, we've got Mr. Andrew Knight, and Miss J. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good evening. 50th
Because
episode, it sums up our ages, Namdi.
you
Very
yeah,
nice.
so Stevie, the veteran in our midst, is definitely good. But yeah, everyone who's just joining in, MJS man, last exit to Brooklyn, missed you, 99999 TV, welcome, and everyone else that's joining in. A special album, Aaron Hall's The Truth. Um, and it'd be interesting to see what you guys thought about the album as we go through countdown our top 10. 13 tracks, three interludes, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, oh well, we'll start with you, Miss J. What was your just your overall thoughts of the album, and I'll go around and ask Andrew and Stevie.
I'm gonna say what Aretha Franklin said: nice gowns. Um, I that's what she said, so she wouldn't say anything bad. I did not really like the entire album. I had maybe a few that I liked. So it was for the '90s. It was a typical sound for the '90s. I'll say that. And he had a couple good tracks on there.
Okay. Um, People's nice song. Okay, I just cool link. Good families welcome. And last exit to Brooklyn said it's like going to the pub on a Sunday night back when I was used to drinking. Okay. Andrew, what are your thoughts about the album?
Man, so I'll try to keep it short because I have a lot to say. And I think I breadcrumbed that in our little chat. But basically, I remember when the album came out, and I remember it kind of being like he was kind of in competition with R. Kelly, who was kind of blowing up around that time. And basically, my summation is it was a failure of A&R to quality control the album. I thought that there was potential, but there was just too many mistakes with the songs, too many mistakes with even the release of the singles. And it was just a wasted opportunity. There were moments of brilliance, like Jay said, but overall it was a bit of a letdown. But it was fun to go back in time. So yeah, that's my first kind of summation of the album.
Okay, it's good. Highway, high fived. Welcome, and Mac. Good to see you after a long time. Baseline G, well done. Good to see you. So, Stevie, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I remember it being highly anticipated because he'd released Don't Be Afraid about the year earlier on the soundtrack, and
Yeah,
that was
Juice.
such a
Yeah.
big record. So this solo album was highly anticipated. When it finally was released on the back of the Get a Little Freaky With Me single, I don't know, it was a bit... It depends what you was looking for. If you was a New Jack Swing fan, you know, the first side of it was up tempo. There was New Jack tracks on there. If you were looking for ballads, there was some really good ballads on there. If you were looking for some nice mid-tempo soul tracks, there was a few of them on there as well. But overall, I'd say a bit anticlimactic, if I'm really honest. But having listened to it now, years later, these other tracks that I felt had stood the test of time, and others now that are like, ooh, I can't, not sure I can do it anymore. So, but it's as an R&B album, I still think it's worth having in your collection. If you're an R&B collector of 90s R&B, you should have this record. You know.
Yeah, and I guess for me, all of us. I can't speak to you for you, Jay, but I know for Stevie and Andrew and I are massive New Jack, Teddy Riley, Guy. So that was the bedrock. And so, when Guy broke up, this was the first sort of sound without Teddy and coaching Mike Aaron Hall. And I think a couple of we spoke about how much Quincy was able to shape Michael to produce some of the great works. And I think you could tell that without Teddy, Aaron was just doing his thing, and I think Teddy knew the best way to get his vocals out. It felt like he was shouting a lot and someone trying to force it through. And if we think the year before, we had Born into the 90s, R. Kelly in Public Announcement, and then a couple of months later, we had 12 Play. And you found out, you can see how when I'm comparing this album, I'm thinking about how R. Kelly sort of switched and just captured it. And so, as I said, it was interesting. There were some songs. I would say this album grew on me more so than it being an instant hit. And, Andrew felt like he was trying to sneak in there and trying to say something.
No, I just saw a comment and
Okay.
my eyes went up because he actually like commented the song I actually hate. I hated it back then. I still hate it now. It's terrible. But he's like, "Open Up is the ultimate jam." I'm like, really? Like, this is terrible to me. Anyways, oh my god, dude.
That's the
All
great
right.
thing about this podcast, though. You've got so many different views. Some people love the tracks that you won't like. As long as you put your case forward, it's all good. But you listen, this it did what I wanted from an R&B album. When I'm buying an R&B album back then, I want some up tempos, I want some mid tempos, I want some ballads. From 94, 95 onwards, we got 18 ballads on an album. It was like, what happened to the up tempos? So it did what I wanted for an R&B album. It's just that some of the songs weren't very strong. Some of the songs, anyway, I would say. I don't want to be highly too critical of it because, like you say, it does what I wanted from an R&B album.
Janitwa Jones, welcome. R&D, the Parade Dawn, welcome. Everyone just coming in. We welcome. So, Miss J,
the cover. Let's talk about the cover of the album and the fashion, the aesthetic, the look of it. Was everybody? How do you feel about that image?
Well,
go ahead, Miss
He
J.
was a handsome man. He was a handsome fella. He looked dapper, good in the suit. But to me, I mean, that picture made me think I was going to get that same old suave, beautiful music that Teddy Riley helped him produce. But he was a nasty man, and so I guess that's what the truth was about. Because I was wondering, where are we naming this the truth? Is because the truth is you're nasty, and I think the cover of the album was beautiful, and I wasn't getting nasty man from just that image. It was a beautiful image, but the lyrics on this album, just like he called himself, nasty.
So what I'll say really quick is, again, about anything in music or TV or whatever, you have to differentiate yourself from the competition. 12 Play came out just 2 months later. So I know someone in the audience said, the truth was the blueprint for 12 Play. But to me, 12 Play was well underway at the same time. So they were really in competition with each other. And they have a similar vibe here. They're both going for the nasty man vibe. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. Same thing. And the problem is, R. Kelly is a lot like what happened between Run DMC and LL Cool J, in that R. Kelly was like Guy wrapped in one person. He was a singer, he was a producer, and a songwriter. And whenever you can have the more self-contained you are, the more successful and longevity you're going to have. Because we just talked about how Aaron Hall, without Teddy to kind of rein him in and kind of get the best out of him, was kind of losing his way. So to go back to the album cover, I think that, and again, this is all, I talk about A&R. A&R's job is to craft you and make sure you're putting your best foot forward. And I just feel like the ball was dropped. He wasn't given the guidance he needed. There was potential there. Aaron Hall is a legend. Trust me, I was rooting for the guy. Yeah. But I feel like even with the album cover, it's like you look like an R. Kelly clone, even though you came first, in my opinion. So it was crazy.
Wow. And it looks like an art. It looks like an art. Oh, should he have looked like an early 90s? Should he been in some gangster stuff then?
No.
I'm going to talk to you about that, actually. I have a whole campaign for this album that I would have done differently. And again, what do they call it? Monday night or quarterbacking, whatever. It's like, it's true. It's hindsight is like easy. So I'm not going to say I'm a genius, but there's some things I would have done differently to differentiate himself. And I think he would have had more longevity, So I'll get to your question about how I would have dressed him.
Yeah, Miss J, what were you trying to say?
I think that his outfit, like his dressing, should have been different. I think that suit. When you see him on stage, he is without a shirt. He takes that jacket off, the suit off. That's what he should have been like on the cover. Because if it was the truth is you should not have a shirt on at all. That is what I think he should have been looking like on the cover of that album.
Yeah. Yeah, and because there was a difference between the Aaron Hall we saw in the Future album. I think, they went. If you see how Guy would dress in the Future, they look like rock stars, R&B rock stars. They had all this stuff, and he probably did try and go into this, into suits. I think this. I mean, who was wearing suits? Freddie Jackson, Keith Washington. That's kind of dressed up. I mean, you weren't getting too. I mean, New Edition, but that was their style. But it just was strange for an R&B act, a young R&B artist to wearing a suit in mid '92 when everyone was just, Jodeci. We were seeing all the stuff. Intro. Everyone was just, dressing down and being casual or being edgy, and so it just seemed really like, okay, is this an ode? This sort of like a Charlie Wilson type of for my parents to listen to, or what? So mixed messages, as you guys have said.
I mean, it is a thought, right, for you all. I didn't realize back then that about the ego he had, the nastiness that we all now know has come out in a subsequent car crash YouTube interview. But I'll tell you what he did. He exudes masculinity in R&B.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at male R&B artists now, and I feel like masculinity is almost like disappeared. Where's it gone?
So I love the comments.
That's, to give it, he exudes that masculinity. Where's that gone?
Mm.
Yeah, no, Aaron gives me Aries energy. He's very, very masculine. But I was going to say, someone in the comments, a couple of things. Number one, RD, I agree with you. Aaron's probably not the kind of guy who listens to A&R, but in that case, either you listen or we don't put it in your album. That would be my response. As far as M. Mac, where is the love? Has it gone to hide? First of all, yes, that song was amazing, number one. Number two, Bobby, the Bobby tour, Humping Around. The opening song, it's black. And then you hear Bobby Brown, his voice at his peak, doing that intro, and he killed it. So
which intro? Where's the love?
Love has it.
You're kidding me.
He did Aaron Hall's intro to open the concert, and it was bananas. I'm telling you, Humping Around the World tour should have been like videotaped. Bobby was at his absolute prime in terms of vocally, dancing, everything. It was an amazing show, but he opened it with that track. So anyway, I got excited. Sorry, guys. And I wish Aaron would have Where's Love from the Future album. Yes, I can't agree with you more. But you're right, Stevie. Masculinity has kind of disappeared.
Is that due to wokeness? Is it due to a lot of single mothers bringing up, young guys, and the fathers not being around? Is it a mixture of that? Should we even go down that rabbit hole? I don't know.
We can come back to it, but I feel like basically you can't even say masculinity. I'll say this: masculinity. People think toxic right away, in terms of it's kind of been poo-pooed. I think in this era, but I do think things are cyclical. So maybe it'll come back, but I do think there's something to what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, Ms. J, you were saying.
You know how you mentioned who was wearing suits in the 90s? Like this came out in 93. In that era, Babyface, El DeBarge, they were still wearing the suits, and they were giving us beautiful love music, beautiful love songs. So I kind of feel like that's what that cover would make me think I was going to get, like that beautiful kind of balladeer crooners of El DeBarge and Babyface with that suit on. And he was he should have been dressed more like Bobby Brown with the album he put out, being Nasty Man. Because Bobby pumping, giving us nasty, and just. That's the truth. If you're calling this the truth, we want to see who you really are on the album cover. At least that's what I would think from what I'm listening to.
But maybe a pair of dungarees with no top on then, or something like that.
Well, but well, think about his first video, as they had a little freaky. I mean, what was he? He was no shirts. He was just pretty much okay. And so it was almost like mixed messaging between that. Now, of course, we will talk about how the song that saved his career in the album, which was a fluke. You know, it was like somebody's idea, let's just do this video. And it's the video that really impacted the song, that really changed the direction. And he stayed in that particular lane. But then that lane was the album cover. Because, you know, think of I Miss You and When You Need Me, he was wearing a suit, or he was really dressed more like a mature type of character.
Right.
So he switched. It's like, oh, so this is the lane. But he didn't start off like that, based on what we said, Mr. The Nasty Man and Get a Little Freaky with Me and Pick Up the Phone. All that stuff was the rough kind of, you know, be rough and everything. So yeah, mixed messaging. And you think Louis Salles, who mastermind New Edition and Belle Biv DeVoe and pretty much all the black music on MCA, would have thought about what am I going to do with this guy? You know, look at what happened. What MCA, what Uptown are doing? How can we leverage that? And it just felt like they just had so much stuff and they took their eye off the ball. And yeah, but anyway,
can you get on Cool International's comment, please? I find that rather quite amusing.
I was thinking it though. I just didn't.
Can you pull that comment up now so the viewers can see it?
Yeah, well, Cool's saying that tomorrow morning Trump will be president and masculinity will be back in America full throttle.
Toxic masculinity.
But anyway, as I said, it's
make America great again. He is allegedly.
Yeah, but anyway, but as we go through, I mean, as I said, we all have mixed views about the album, but let's talk about the songs. So if we start off with number 10, you know, it'd be good, Stevie. You know, you want to start off with you. What would make your number 10 off of the album?
Pick up
and as Stevie's writing, if you guys could also put your top 10 based on 10 down to 1, it'd be great as well, because we're ranking it. Would be great if you did the same side. Sorry, Stevie, you said pick up the phone.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a heavy New Jack fan of this, you know, and it did have a heavy production to it, and you know, I could give a nod. I say, yeah, I like the production, but as a song and what was going on in it, just didn't seem. I see what they try to do with the girl on the phone, but it just didn't work for me at all. It was just a bit messy, and I can't listen to it now. I tried to. That's probably the least favorite. Some of the production is the New Jack can handle, but as a song, didn't work for me.
Okay. I like what the Diplomat said. He says, I forget about, you know, we talk about the 90s and the men, which he says Jodeci and R. Kelly have him to thank for their start in music. But think about how Joe was dressed up. You know, Joe looks that, you know, see how he was dressed up, you know, compared to that. But pick up the phone. Okay. Andrew, what about you? What would make you number 10?
Well, I have to be mean and basically just again open up one more time. That is number 11, but we're doing that anyway. Number 10 actually is Let's Make Love. I know that might be, you know, blasphemous for some people. I think that was a single, and again, I'm like scratching my head.
It was the second single.
Yeah, what are you doing? Like that song has no personality. It's flat as F, and yet you made it. Oh, are you serious right now? Like, so anyway, it's number 10, and it's just a waste of time. And I hear it, and I hit skip immediately. Like this weekend, and it is my number 10.
Wow.
Okay.
This is what we want, you see, these 4 or 5 whether you agree with them or not. Get them out there.
Miss J.
This was hard because I really didn't have 10 to like.
Wow.
Comments are going wild.
So Pick Up the Phone was like there used to be a commercial back in the day. Pick up the phone, like phone ho. Sorry, but that's what they were back in the day, and that's what this reminded me of. And I wrote a note here. A note. The intro ad lib sound like Charlie Wilson. There was a phone fun. I put the commercial operator in here, and I think for a few seconds you hear the Humpty Dance from Digital Underground.
Yes.
That was the highlighted the whole song.
Yeah. And okay, that's really good. I know a lot of people aren't happy with Andrew's putting "Let's Make Love" at number 10. So red cards and yellow cards right off the back. But I will agree. I with both Stevie and Miss J. I pick up the phone. I think it felt like he was doing almost like, can you do a Teddy Riley type of track 3 years later kind of thing, and he just felt forced, like, yeah, I'm gonna get this done, and I was like, wow, it felt, yeah, I had to squeeze it in there. If I could have done top 8, it would have been a little bit easier, but pick up the phone was there for me. Okay, it's number 9, Stevie.
I think what you should always get on an R&B album is a big middle of the road ballad that you can play. It can be played on daytime radio. Your normies out there, your average music listeners who maybe not even into R&B can sing along to it. It's just it's a big ballad that appeals to your everybody really, apart from me, because your big middle of the road ballads, I kind of avoid them. So at number 9, now there's nothing wrong with this record whatsoever. The quality of it, you lot can go into the backstory of it. I'll let you have that one. But I simply just didn't. When I got the vinyl home, and I'm going back to my age when I'm 17, 18, because this record will probably make you cry. I didn't want to cry at 17 and 18. I'm like, I'm Mr. I'm full of testosterone. I'm chasing girls at 18, 19. That's the kind of vibe I'm on. So I Miss You is at number 9. Nothing wrong with the record. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't listen to it. 18 and start crying in my bedroom to I Miss You. I mean, I can appreciate it a lot more now because it's a grown record, and you can go into the backstory of it, Namdi and whoever. But as an 18-year-old, that big middle of the road, end of the road, Boys to Men, singular, they weren't for me. I like a certain style of ballad, which we will get into because it does have that on the album. But I Miss You, shocking pick at number 9. Nothing wrong with it.
I'll be damned. So you are provoking.
Tell the truth.
The pitchforks are coming out.
And I say to any guys who were that age back then, you're telling me you was in your bedroom crying to that record. I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
So I guess it's one of the things you can reflect on is are you rating this now, or are you rating it back in 2019?
I think a bit of both. A bit of both, really. A bit of both. But I'm just being honest. I can't, it has stood the test of time as a ballad.
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. I know you were.
Yeah, I gotta say, Stevie, thank you for drawing some of that fire away from me, because I got a lot of hate for "Let's Make Love." All right, so number 9 is yet another single, and I'm scratching my head as why it was a single. So more yellow cards maybe, but yeah, Get a Little Freaky. It doesn't do it for me. It's like it is a very throwaway. It's an album track at best, and I think that was the first single. It was the first single. Yeah, and I also really quick editorializing here. Why are you leaning so heavily into "Don't Be Afraid" when that song came out in the fall of '91? So why are you putting a song like a remix of that song twice on the album? It's like wasted space. What are you doing? But anyway, Get a Little Freaky with Me is at number 9. Complete waste. You made a video. Why? I don't know. And whack. All right.
Okay.
Wow. You actually thought it was whack.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Jay.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I'm stunned.
Yes, I agree.
Fair play. Fair enough.
What did you go for, Jay?
Number 9, Get a Little Freaky. I did not like it. I thought it was. I said not impressed with this track. It's forgettable. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Did not like it. How many times you gotta tell us you're freaky and nasty? I don't understand.
I think the only surprise I had is the fact that you guys actually had it in your top 10. I
Wow.
didn't, I couldn't even. I didn't even put it in my top 10. That's how bad I was. It was the first I saw the video and I was listening to the song and I'm thinking, what's this? What's he? I mean, this is the guy who sang "Smile" and "Yearning for Your," well, "Goodbye Love" and "Let's Chill," and it was just the production. It was just all over the place. It was. I was thinking, what? Yeah. So I didn't even put it in there. So I had to. You touched on this, Andrew. He had "Don't Be Afraid" twice on the album. So number 9 was the first one, the jazz version, which was it probably was a remix of the first one, of the one he did on the Deuce soundtrack. He just jazzed it up a little bit, almost in case you didn't remember it. Here it is again. I'm just gonna change it up a little bit. So it was a year and a half late. So, but I put it in. I preferred it to "Let's Get Freaky," but yeah, it was the jazz version of "Don't Be Afraid" that I put in there.
I want to jump in really quick and just say, number one, so I RD basically says because all versions of "Don't Be Afraid" are slaps, and I'll just say to him, I got something for you on that. So just stay tuned for that. But as far as "Don't Be Afraid" jazz version at number 9, yeah, I am a little like that. That kind of hurt me a little bit, but because I do like that one. But I'm not going to reveal where it is on my poll.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting to number 8, Stevie.
I've gone for "Open Up." I'll tell you what I did like about this song, what I didn't like about it. I like the production because 93 on the East Coast, hip hop, they were sampling a lot of jazz, funk, and they were combining it with hip hop beats. And I thought it was a very timely production. I thought that the productions, it was bang on the money for that. I didn't like some of the chanting in the track, but I can still listen to it for the production. I just didn't like some of the chanting in it. It's not a great song by any means, but I do like the toughness and the edge of that production. So number 8 for me.
Okay, Andrew.
Number 8 for me is "Until the End of Time." And that one actually is not even so much it's not a diss. I think everything past this point is I actually like the song. And I feel like the album was recovering on the back half. It's like, okay, now we're finally getting to the lane that you should have been the whole time. And Andy, you said it exactly. That should have been your lane because that's different than R. Kelly. It's like an updated guy, and that's unique and no one else was doing that. So "Until the End of Time," it was a great kind of last song on the album. And that's my number 8.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Jay, what about you?
Okay, so you said that you're surprised some of the songs, one song made our list, right? Well, I didn't think it was fair to include the prologues, the interludes, because I like those better than the songs. But I didn't put them up. So that's why I had to choose a song. So my next song would be "Until I Found You." I did not like it. Says so. The lyrics of that song kind of bother me. You can yell, you can hit me, just makes me more horny.
No, that's "Don't Be Afraid," isn't it?
I didn't like that. So
okay, "Until I Found You." Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think like Stevie, I had number 8, "Open Up," and I wrote down it had and somebody put it in the comments earlier, Dave Hall. It had the kind of intro, Untouchables, imitation type of track. That's like a poor man's Dave Hall, the production of that, but you could see where it was going to sort of the stuff like that. But the chanting and everything like that, it was different. But as I said, it's number 8 on my chart, because I think I had a vision for the album that I think when you see my top 6, you probably see the direction I thought the album should have been. But "Open Up" was number 8 for me. Yes. All right. We're going to now to number 7.
Oh, we're at number 7 already. Well, I kind of disagree with Knight on "Let's Make Love." I like the track. I think it suits a very late night, quiet storm, not a big daytime middle of the road ballad, but a late night quiet storm type of ballad where you're getting in the mood with your missus or your girlfriend or your chick on the side, whichever you.
Chick on the side. Okay.
And I think gets you in the mood, and I liked it. Let's Make Love. I like the female vocal that drifts in and out. I think it's a good kind of erotic ballad. I'm going for it. For me, number 7.
Okay. Andrew, what about you?
You guys got your slay chicks out there, your side chicks.
No. What's number?
Don't be afraid. So yes, ain't no need, baby, don't be afraid. Anyways, all right. So number 7 is the slow version of "Don't Be Afraid."
Okay.
Again, why it was put on an album, wasting space, blows my mind. Like, just put out another maxi single or whatever and leave it over there because you can't do anything with this. I think there was a video for that one actually too. But again, it was just kind of like, "Don't Be Afraid" was 2 years ago, dude. Like, calm down. Like, so anyway, that's my number 7.
He had Gerald Albright doing the sax on that as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was 7. Miss J, what about you? What's number 7 for you?
Number 7, I have Do Anything. Do Anything. And let me see. I put notes for Do Anything. Okay, so Do Anything starts off up tempo, and I don't know if you guys noticed, with a lot of these songs on this album, it was elements of other songs that were popular in the 90s, because I put starts off with elements of Jade 1992, Don't Walk Away, by the same composer and mixer, Vassar Benford. He did. So
yeah, you're spot on there, definitely.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I put that on my list at all. I put my number 7 was Until the End of Time, and I wrote down that it sounded like, if you go to the Future album, Yearning for Your Love, gave me the Gap Band type. It was almost like, let me tap into that.
Yes.
As I said, it's without Teddy, there's something that Teddy can, if he would have done that particular track, it would have really given Aaron a better feel for it. So, as I said, I don't want to say that Aaron is not a great singer without Teddy, but there's just that marriage in between a producer who knows your voice and knows how to really make it shine, and I think that's what's got missing in this album. Without Teddy, so To the End of Time, sort of the Gap Band vibe, but it just wasn't, compared to Yearning for Your Love, which was the cover of the Gap Band. If you're comparing the two, you can tell me which one you think would sound better. I rest my case on that.
Of course, no question, But yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yes. Stevie, we're already at number 6.
Number 6, RD, what is it? The Prairie Dog says, if I'm hearing you correctly, then by daytime R&B, you mean something like Carl Thomas, I Wish. Carl Thomas, I Wish, is a daytime R&B record. I'm talking about ballads, middle of the road, ballads, slow records that just appeal to the masses. Could be a Whitney Houston record or Luther record or just something slow, sing along, That was what I thought was I Miss You. My number 6, even though the Juice soundtrack version of Don't Be Afraid for me is the definitive version of that record. It's the best version. I've gone for Don't Be Afraid at number 6. Both versions have just put them together at number 6. I did like the slower mix of it. I like the production of the jazzier mix. It's just the chorus that he just went, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." It kind of like took it away, took a bit of sting out of the chorus, but it's still a good song. You can, if you go back to that Juice album mix, it's a classic. Looking back, it's a classic New Jack track. So they milked it, didn't they? They probably thought, we need to make sure people buy the album. We're going to put a few more. I can see the A&Is. Let's put a few more versions of it. So got number 6 for me.
But it's really hard. You think about Juice came out in 91, and we had
No, it's
Notified
January 92. So it was like
92.
right there.
Okay,
January.
okay.
So I see what
Okay.
you're saying.
But we had Naughty by Nature, Uptown Anthem. We had all it was the vibe of the album. So I think the track was like, oh, Aaron's first track without Teddy. So it was exciting. But I think, to just try and milk it, it's a little bit. But anyway.
Can I jump on Stevie for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so don't be afraid. You called the Juice version the definitive version. I remember the palpable disappointment when I found, because my first exposure was actually the Jazz You Up version, which has a "Don't be afraid, my baby, everything will be all right. Ain't no need to be afraid. No way, no way, no." So you guys know what I'm talking about. So it's a different version and it's faster. And even the beginning, it goes boom, 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 and it's the same.
That's a good mix. That is a good mix.
That was the one that I wanted, and it was very hard to find. It actually called the Nasty Man's Groove. I think that's what it's called. Either way, I had to go get the single. So and I feel like that single version is like impossible to hear. Now, of course, the Juice boom boom boom.
The G beat kind of.
That one is it's plotting and it's just relentless, but it also has, again, those lyrics that you were talking about, Jay, which is just like, nope, it's a no-fly zone now. And
Right.
no-fly zone back
No,
then.
it is now. Back then it wasn't though.
Now.
Back then nobody was complaining about the lyrics, but maybe now. But back then, you played that record in a club that filled the dance floor here. So I'm seeing
Yeah.
Well, backstage underage. Hey, look, we didn't even think much
that was
about
the worst. I mean, he's something about you can yell, you can hit me, all the doors are locked. What?
We need to leave it out of this. They didn't scare me, okay?
I think that hurt his
Don't be
career.
afraid. I'm like this. I'm afraid.
Yeah. There's another song. I'm trying to remember. I think it's good God. It was like an early like a 70s, 80s funk song. I Gotcha by Joe Tex. Man, those I feel like he was channeling that. So if you don't know that song, look it up and then be like, damn, that song is
Well,
not
you pulled
good.
the name out the bag there, Knight.
Yeah.
Joe Text. Wow.
Joe Tex, I Gotcha. Like that's the same. The lyrics are not cool. And they are basically like what Don't Be Afraid did, but the whole song is that. So it's just, I don't know how that flew. In any event, I apologize for hijacking that. I will go with my number
six, yeah.
This is going to surprise, I think, everyone here. Everyone's dogging Pick Up the Phone, and I actually put it at number 6. And I think, though, no, that's a spoiler. I'll just say this: I like Pick Up the Phone. It just had a certain I'm not gonna pick up the phone no more. Dun, 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 dun. No more for you, babe. Boom, 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 boom. Like I feel the Running Man to that song. So it's at number 6, baby.
You like some phone operator commercials too, didn't you?
Oh goodness. Jay, what about you? What's your number 6?
So my number 6 is one that you all mentioned already, Until the End of Time. And you guys have all mentioned the Charlie Wilson vibe of it. I hear that. But something that I don't know if you guys didn't mention, if you listen to the very beginning, the intro sounds like Low Key, I Got a Thing for You. Remember that song back? It came out in 1992. I got a thing for you, baby. Remember that song?
Uh-oh.
The intro of this song steals from that, it sounds like. It came out a year before. So that was like the best part of the song to me.
Can you do that again? I'm sorry. I heard I got it. You can sing.
I can't sing.
All right, I won't do that again. I want to put you on the spot. I was like, oh.
That was a mistake. It's a fluke. When I sound good, it's a fluke.
Well, here's to flukes. I'm drinking to that. So.
Thank you.
See, and Max said at number 6, that's such a Sheldon pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sheldon would pick Anniversary if we did a Tony, and he'll pick like one of their best songs and just put it at the bottom. So yeah, I got my number 6 was You Keep Me Crying.
Oh, interlude.
That was the interlude, right?
Yeah.
And well, the music now is about 1 minute and 30 seconds, so even though it was 2 minutes and 11 seconds as an interlude, it's a record today in today's standard. But it gave me that smile kind of, that kind of stuff. And as again, when I'm getting from my 6 upwards, this is probably the lane I thought the album should be. And You Keep Me Smiling, I thought it was nice, short, and really showcased his vocals with it as well. Yeah. Okay, top 5, Stevie.
I've gone with the first single, Get a Little Freaky With Me. I just remember, again, for me, going off the production, it was a very heavy production, sounded really heavy in a club. That's Aaron Hall for me, Get a Little Freaky With Me. I didn't mind it too much. I remember buying a 12-inch for all the mixes. I played it a lot. I can, bit cheesy now maybe, but worked for me as a New Jack record. Didn't see any problems with it. Get a Little Freaky With Me, that masculinity I was talking about earlier.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But because when the video came out, I can still remember watching BET, and it just came and disappeared quickly. It just didn't have the impact. It just didn't have the impact on the radio or on the video mix, and it just seemed out of sorts compared to what was being played on the radio at that time. Because think about it, this is 92, so we still had the remnants of I can't remember who's coming out now. Of course, we still had Honey Love and all that stuff that's still out there. But it just and 92, Bobby was still coming out with his stuff, and his sound was a lot more, compact and a lot more in sync, and how his vocals were. So that first single.
Looking back though, anyone who was buying New Jack Swing at the time would have bought that 12-inch. They would have just gone to would have been in the store that Saturday, that weekend. They would have bought it. I know they would. It got released in the UK as a single. They did try. I don't think it's not a terrible record.
But are we judging Aaron? Because here's brother saying, talking about goodbye, bye love, goodbye love, and all this stuff. But are we judging Aaron as like from the work he did on Guy? And we're thinking there's a standard he's hit, so why is he going beneath that? With his own solo stuff, because he co-wrote a lot of stuff on this Future album. Even Timmy did did all the writing on the first one, but he co-wrote on the Future, and like he did Smile and those type of ballads, and so we didn't see that here. But anyway.
Yeah, to me, I feel like if
ahead,
you're a solo artist, you need to surpass what you did with the group. Honestly, that's what makes you a true successful solo artist, and you want to go up, not down. That said, I want to give, M. Mac. We're on the same page. My life's never been the same until I found you. That is my number 5, and that was like a song that I think should have absolutely been a single. The issue is it's too damn long. And that's a problem with a lot of the other songs on the album. It's like, why is this 6 minutes long? Why is it 5 minutes long? You need to cut it down. And I also feel like Until I Found You gave me the same kind of vibes as Until the End of Time by Bobby on the Bobby album. And I can actually hear Bobby singing Until I Found You. I think it would have worked. That song was the vibe. So I would have had that as a single. I would have had him not like all nastied out, but an updated guy, like basically a guy that can hang in 93, 94, where it is more about combat boots and people aren't dancing anymore. Fine, cool, whatever. Maybe no shirt, but a blazer, but no shirt. And you're still classy and you're singing like in like a nice like New York penthouse with like the city backdrop behind you and my life's never been the same. And you've got like the piano in there. Like that's the vibe I would have given you. And that is not R. Kelly, because R. Kelly was talking about bump and grind, bald, like licking the tongue out and everything. So you would have had your own lane. So that is my number 5.
Yeah, I think what's that? Marco talked about Aaron should have worked with some better producers, and I don't know that it's as Andrew started off by saying that R. Kelly's benefit was he was self-contained as a writer and a producer, so he could hone his sound. When Guy were together, it was like, okay, Aaron, let's write. Aaron will write. Teddy was hone the sound to fit his voice. When he went outside, it was almost like, yeah, you give me something, and let's try it. So yeah, Jay, up to you, number 5.
Number 5 is Let's Make Love, because how it starts off, I like the beat. And you know that song?
Okay, go ahead.
Don't be, you know that Sky song from, let's see what year was that? It was the 80s song. Don't be afraid of the way you feel. It's real love. This song starts off like that. A lot of these songs on this album grab from other places. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but my ear hears other songs that he's putting on this album. Little clips, but that beat comes off like a song from the 80s. And I love that group. I love 80s and 90s music. So that's my number 5.
That's your number 5. I put my number 5 until I found you, and I wrote down that this sounded like a Guy song.
Nice.
I said that of all the songs on the album, I thought this was like it could have been on a future album, and even saying that actually Teddy could have just done a little bit of production there, and it was quite long and stuff, but it was. We started to get into the direction. I thought, okay, I can see the lane he's trying to go.
Yes.
But it would have taken, but you think about by this time, Jodeci had just come out with Forever My Lady, and they curved the lane, and R. Kelly and Public Announcement sort of piggybacked of that. We had H-Town coming with Knockin' Boots, and it was the sound, that kind of sound was becoming a lot more to the forefront, and the radios were playing that type of sound. And so the lane that Aaron was going to, it wasn't really, there was not a lot of push and marketing behind that. So it was just, it was just a mistake. But as I said, this was like a Guy song from the Future album, my number 5, Until I Found You. Stevie.
Number 4 for me, the best ballad on the album, When You Need Me, is at number 4.
Okay.
It gets you there, doesn't it? It does get you there. It really, really deep dives you into. It's a real. When he sings, it is a flawless record. That, when you need me,
Good use of background vocals. He had, it was a good sort of vocal arrangement on it.
It's an interesting thing. I watched an interview with, that ballad he did with Jewel on the what was the sound? The Death Row soundtrack, the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's an interview with her, and she was talking about when she first met Aaron Hall, and they were thrown in the studio together. I didn't know he had a lisp. Apparently, he had a really bad lisp, and she couldn't believe how did he sing as well as he could with a lisp, but he did anyway. But apparently, when they both recorded the vocals and they went to go to put the backing vocals on, they had to stack his vocals. So it's like he did it. See, he did his vocal in like one take on the chorus. They had to stack it up 8 times just to match her once. So if you talk about this guy having a big vocal, you put it against Jewel, and it was nothing compared to she did it in one take. They didn't need to stack a vocal, but with Aaron Hall's, they had to stack his just to match hers by 8 times.
But I would still say that it depends on the person who knows his voice.
They kind of had a bit of issues. They had a bit of issues in the studio and this, that, and the other. But years later, they met up, and apparently she had all this coy giggle about her. The Nasty Man came out, so I'll leave that up to your imagination as to what happened between them both. And she was very happy. She was very happy that the Nasty Man came out. Giggling away there, going, he was everything, lived up to everything he was about. So,
but I would say that I think that's where as we start off by saying that if you know about his stammer, Timmy Gatlin spoke about that when he met him in the shoes when they were working in that shoe shop, and he was trying to say to Timmy that he can sing, and he was stuttering and stuff, and he very shy and stuff. So they've said it there, but I think they knew how to harness his vocals where he got him sounding the best, but since the whole fallout with Gene and all that stuff, maybe he turned to smokes, maybe he turned to other things. He's lost. Did you, Andrew? Did you go to the Legacy tour?
Even I did, but even there was a concert before the Legacy tour, I think I told you guys about, where he started singing and it was a little rough and the crowd actually started booing. It was crazy, because his voice isn't the same as it used to be. Yeah. So yeah, the cigarettes or whatever happened has affected it. But yeah, I did go to the Legacy tour and he sounded actually better on Legacy tour than he did on the show that I saw.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So as I said, I always think that some if some subsequent places they couldn't capture that vocal, I wonder if Teddy had recorded that track, if he would have had to do it the same way. Just a thought. But anyway, so you had when you need me as a number 4. Andrew, what about your number 4?
So I just want to also resonate with NJS, man. Like, music changed so often. He talks about how the New Jack sound was already retired, which is why I kind of consider 93, 90, really 92, 93, like kind of the post New Jack era. And then by 94, we're starting to really go into hip hop soul. So yeah, if you didn't figure out where you were, like, that was also going to hurt you. And I do agree that this album was trying to figure out where it was. That said, I'll save that for later. I'll say it now. I just wanted to say that, as far as the Nasty Man coming out and everything, I will never forget that as nasty as he was, like when in 1999, when a certain kind of blonde Latin cowboy girl in the Big Pimpin' video was doing her thing, bam, 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 that's Gloria Velez. And I found out that Aaron Hall, like that was his girl. I was like, yo, Aaron, okay, all right. Like, for not being relevant, you pulled pretty nice. Anyway.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
But I'll leave that alone because actually that's right, because I think you probably know the history. And I shouldn't have said anything. Backpedaling. All right. Now, number 4.
Abort. Go.
I think she was old enough in that video. Anyway, number 4. Believe it or not, was the song that I don't think really liked that much. It's Do Anything. So Basil Benford, I've noticed he's done all the tracks I actually like. So I feel like he kind of saved the album in my opinion. But again, I was listening to it yesterday and, walking around, and then by the end, I'm like, why is this song still going? It's like, do anything you want to do. I'm like, I would have cut at least a minute off that song at the end. But I love the keyboard at the end, I love the sound. So it's like, to me, Do Anything was like, that could have been a single. I think it could have been like maybe the last single, and then maybe it would have been like a dance video and everything, even though dancing wasn't that cool. But at that point, still have some dancing, because like, you know what? I'm Aaron Hall. I came from Groove Me. I'm not trying to be like Jodeci because I'm from before y'all, but I'm going to show y'all how we get down in 93, 94 from the New Jack era, just a little updated, So that for me is my number 4. I think it's the best. It's the best up tempo that was actually made for this album. So I just clarified.
Okay. So Do Anything is for you, right? Did you notice the Jade song in there? Did you notice?
Oh, 100%, 1,000%. And again, it makes sense because Vassal did both. So,
right.
But yeah, props to you on that though.
What about you, Jay? What's number 4?
So number 4, let's see what I told you this was hard. It's hard like anything. So number 4, I picked an intro because I couldn't pick a song.
What?
I picked Don't Be Afraid intro.
Okay.
2 seconds. It was just basically instrumental.
Yes. The Don't Be Afraid. Like,
it was
50 seconds or 30 seconds. I can't do
52 seconds. I'll take it. It was one of the most beautiful sounding things on the record. Was the intro. Listen to it. Sounds like it belongs in a movie, like a beautiful love story is about to happen. You don't think you're gonna be scared, like don't be afraid. That's how you start off all beautiful with the intro, and I just want to leave it there. Just leave it at the 52 seconds.
The bait and switch.
Oh goodness. Yeah, it's. I mean, you know what? If you think about it, they made some some albums had some good interludes that actually you think, well, I wish they could have expanded that.
Right.
Like, yeah, Where Is the Love? Has It Come Inside? And then you had, I actually like, of the Finally album, I think it's not Misery, it's The House is that no, I can play you down. I can't remember. Can't remember the interlude of the Finally album.
Blackstreet.
Pardon?
Finally from Blackstreet.
Yeah, the Blackstreet Finally
Okay.
album. They had an interlude just before Misery.
But you know what, though? An interlude that did get made into a big song and a huge hit. Remember Anything on SWV's album? It was a slow, like,
Oh, yes,
slow intro. It was Anything,
yes.
and then Above the Rim comes out, and they make it a straight up like dance track, like Wu-Tang on there, and it blew up. So that was an idea. That was an example of successful A&R. Like, okay, this song is it? Because I remember before Anything came out, I was like, how is this not a whole song? You know, and they figured it out, and I love that. So,
and just side note, Brian Alexander Morgan mentioned it actually. R. Kelly sample sort of copied Anything to do Back and Forth, and he was saying that it Back and Forth is Anything, pretty much. He just ripped it up and just the whole. So he was explaining it in the when I interviewed him. But he said Anything. If you listen to it and listen to Back and Forth, you can just see where R. Kelly bit him off of that.
Wow.
But my number 4 is When You Need Me, I Will Be There.
Oh, that would have been a bit high up for you.
It was hard, but I thought it. I mean, my next 4 are really close, but you know, he was on a David Foster type of, you know, he wasn't straight up R&B stuff. He was in a different sort of level, but it was like, let me go to the storytelling. Because if you watch the video, it was about, you know, helping a woman from being domestic abuse and stepping in there. So he was continuing with that theme and stuff like that. Not Back and Forth. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
I hear it.
Maybe.
Now.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Yeah, it was okay. Age ain't nothing but a number, and is there anything? Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so When You Need Me, it's I mean, it was just different, you know. And I think it was like, so if you think about the back end, you know, the B side of the album compared to the front end, you could just see he was slowing down, not shouting, not screaming, and he was just really getting into the lyrics of the song. Yeah. Okay. Yes, so that's it. So top 3, Stevie G.
Number 3 is everything Knight said about Do Anything. I do agree. I was a huge fan. I still am of Vassell Benford, the producer. I think what you said, Jay, about his work with Jade. I think Vassell then. I think he peaked. That was his huge hit. He was behind, and I think he peaked. His sound peaked by then. But I still listen to Do Anything today. It's not an outstanding song, but I love the production. Yeah. You know, as an up-tempo, it's the best up-tempo on the album. Vassell also worked with, does anyone remember LaRue? They did a track called Serious. Big New Jack Swing song from 91, LaRue. We did their album as well. I love that album. It's one of my favourite albums. So, yeah, Do Anything, that number 3.
Okay. Andrew. Top 3, that's number 3.
How is you? I'm talking to you, baby. So anyway, so check this out. Even back then and now, it's like, how is a song about like him losing a girl, but then the video is like homegirl dies in like childbirth. So it's like, you know, take the place of me loving you. I was, you know, so I would have like loving you. I would have taken out the whole making love through you all through the night, because how are you making love to her when she's dead? Like what? So anyway, right? Like we just chose to ignore it. But man, Summer of '94 was all about that song, and that video was powerful.
Mhm.
And I remember, I remember he actually performed that song on Apollo in a white suit. And I remember people were liking it, but then he starts humping the stage. And I was kind of like, how are you talking about the song and humping the stage? It's so weird, dude. But anyway, so let's talk about the damn song. So anyway, this song actually is the most polished. It doesn't need a lot of tweaking. As a matter of fact, that it's perfect. I mean, it's a little longer than the single version, but the portions of the song that are not in the single version are actually good. Like, I really, really do, you know. And then that "Show Me Your Pretty Eyes," like there's a lot of classic. Like it was literally the closest thing to Guy like on that album, and I think it was rewarded. So it's almost as if like the A&Rs just kept effing up, and then finally some radio station was like, you know what, bump them, let's put this on, you know, start getting traction. And then the record company's like, you know what, we got to make a video for this, let's just do it, you know, because again, the album came out September of '93, and the song didn't explode until like what, late spring '94. So you know, there was anyway.
Yeah.
You guys get the point. I Miss You is at number 2. But
have you seen the interview with that artist Benito, who said it was his song?
So Benito, he was signed to Busted. So yes, what's the guy's
Louis Burrell,
MC Hammer. Yeah. So I was thinking of Fodder. Yeah, he wrote "I Miss You," different lyrics, the same kind of chorus. But it was like "I Miss You, Girlfriend." It was about his girlfriend. Now, because he signed his publishing away to Busted, and they hadn't got an album for him, Busted did Lil Fasal said, "Look, Aaron's coming up with his debut album. He needs some songs. What you guys got?" They played him the "I Miss You." He buys it off them. He changed the lyrics, changes the sort of theme of it, and he sings it. So he didn't do anything dirty. It's just like what happens in music. It's like, here's a song. Okay, I'm going to buy this, and then I'm going to take I'm just changing the lyrics and change the story of it. So, and so Aaron did his thing with it. I mean, but I guess it shows us how the music industry can work, where you can write stuff. And because Benito could have sang it and it would have gone nowhere, it would have been nothing. Or Aaron sings it and becomes a big hit that it is, and he now can just release his own version. But yeah, Andrew, I think it was a radio station that played a track. It got some traction, and they said, let's just quickly shoot something in there, because it wasn't part of the plan. I think after Let's Make Love, they just said, yeah, this is not working, and let's cut it. And it just shifted and switched. All right, Jay. Okay, go ahead.
What about the video then? The video's based on a true story. I believe he lost his then girlfriend. She died, and he lost his son as well.
I saw on again, it's Wikipedia, but I saw that it was about his son. But now, there was also a citation needed after that, right? And then, like, if Benito wrote, actually the lyrics can change. So anyway,
he wrote about missing a girlfriend, comeback girlfriend. Yeah, it was a very different type of concept that the Benito wrote.
That's a good question. We should probably get Aaron on the horn and
It'd probably be easier to get Benito on it, but I just don't. But the problem is that I don't want that sort of because it will just be like this, and then it'll become a big whole thing. But
that sounds right, NGS man.
Yeah, Jay.
Yes, sir.
What is your number 3?
Number 3, I told you I like the intros and interludes better. So You Keep Me Crying is my number 3.
Well, it's a good one. It's 2 minutes, but that's a song today.
Yes. Intro starts off with rain. I love me some Can You Stand the Rain? I love sound effects. So I love that. That track. It should have been a single. It should have been a track. It's a track to me. It should have been a single.
Yeah, it feels as if you almost like trying to. I hope you don't have the prologue as your number 1, because that's just 9 seconds. Because I
do not.
I would say so. My number 3 is probably one of the songs that at one point it was up there, and I actually do like "Let's Make Love." The whole the vibe, and because here's the thing: that song is out of place on that album because it was the only song on that album that was very similar to the vibe we're getting from H-Town, the sort of that type of production. It was very different from what the rest of the album was, and it was different from Iron Hall. That type of production, but I did like it, and unfortunately, it didn't get that much traction as well on BET and on the radios. But I did like it, and so that made my number 3. And I thought he probably, and I think just the first single just really turned people off. But I thought that was a good one for him. Let's Make Love. And I liked the backing vocals. I could hear some. I don't have the actual physical CD. I don't know who did a lot of the backing vocals, but I could hear some women consistently on some of the backing tracks on that. So Let's Make Love was my number 3. Steve.
Only number 2. We're getting out of the last. These last 2 for me are the outstanding tracks on the album. I think the show is mature, grown up side, and I think they've stood the test of time, these tracks. Number 2 is Until I Found You for me. It's got a really good mid-tempo, soulful vibe to it that you could play at a soul night, and soul people dance to that track. A lot of them albums that come out on MCA at the time, they already had a track like a mid-tempo, like Jackie McGee, Good Old Fashioned Love, a good mid-tempo soul track, and I think that stands the test of time for me. It's a very strong record. Number 2, Until I Found You.
Until I Found You. Okay, I have a question about that song. Right? Did you guys when you listen to that song, do you notice it sounds similar to Sherelle 1988? Everything I Miss at Home.
Hey, that's a brilliant spot, Jay.
And brilliant
right.
album.
Now you said it. It has the melody. It's got the spot on.
Yes.
That's probably why and that's a great track in itself. That Sherelle track's a great 80s track. So that's probably why I like it. Then.
I think so.
It's the minor chords or the minor keys are on the song.
Yeah.
It's darkness.
Yeah, it's well spotted.
Yeah. So I think we have our sound spotter now. Have all the genealogy, the musical genealogist here.
Can I tell you?
She's not just a Michael Jackson fanatic. Then
no, I have an ear.
Well,
I gotta tell you guys a story one day about my ear, because I actually am the person who told Marvin Gaye's family about the Robin Thicke song. They never heard
the blurred lines.
Yeah, I told them about that. They didn't know about it.
Oh, you told them?
I told them.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us the story. We've got time.
I felt kind of bad about it because I'm a Robin Thicke fan. But the family was here. The niece, Marvin Gaye's niece, and his sister, Viola. I think that's how you say her name. She had a play called Marvin, My Brother Marvin. And I noticed none of the songs in the play were Marvin Gaye songs. So I'm sitting out I went out in the hallway and I sat down with the niece, and because her mother was taking pictures. They had a backdrop and people were taking pictures with her and just pictures in the backdrop. So I'm sitting down with the niece and I asked, why don't you guys have any of Marvin Gaye's songs on this play? And she said, well, Berry Gordy didn't give my mother the right to the music to put out here. So I was like, and she's in the background of the song that Robin used, the Marvin Gaye song, the party sound. His sister's in there talking in the background. So I was like, so why would Marvin Gaye give Robin Thicke rights to why would Berry Gordy give rights to Marvin Gaye's music to Robin Thicke and not you guys? And she was like, what are you talking about? And I had a website at the time. I pulled it up. I'm like, this Robin Thicke song sounds just like your uncle's song, right? And so then she was like, Mom, come here. And then they were like, okay, send me that. We're texting Nona right now. They start texting Nona like, you got to hear this song. It sounds like Uncle Marvin's. And I'm like, oh boy. It started with me.
So MJ, you want to be starting something. That's what happened.
You want to be starting something. Wow.
Yes. I have pictures of that day too somewhere. But yeah, it was a crazy day. the whole thing is a crazy story. But yeah,
Wow. Did they give you
my
cuts
year.
or anything? Because they made some money for that.
Millions.
I don't feel like I'm rightfully. Oh, I feel like
Okay.
somebody. I don't feel like I should have been good. They should have got the money. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
somebody else. Everybody was going to hear it eventually. It was just a new song, and I'm like, yeah, I think your family should be getting paid for this because that is clear as day to me, Marvin Gaye. But a lot of times people don't hear what I hear, but that led to millions for that family.
Yeah, goodness. Wow. Okay. Okay. I guess it kind of speaks to the fact that you are listening and hearing stuff because Stevie does that quite a bit. I'm you know, yeah, I'm probably the least be able to pick it up. So impressive. Um, did you get your number two?
Did I get my number two? My number two is a catchy song that you guys already have mentioned. It's I Miss You. I think that song was one of the most easiest songs to sing to. Like it was a catchy song. I miss you. Everybody can sing it. And I feel like a lot of these songs on the album, you can't. So that one
Mm,
was easy to sing along to. One of the best songs on the album to me is I Miss You.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's my number two as well. And
You've missed Night Out.
oh, sorry, Andrew. Go
Oh, you're
ahead.
fine.
Sorry.
You're fine. You finish your thought, and then I'll just jump in on the back, and then we'll go back and
Okay.
forth.
Yeah. It was my number two as well. And as much as I was disappointed with the how the album was going, I was really rooting for him because he's Aaron Hall. He was part of the family, you know, the whole guy stuff. So when the video took off as it did, it's it was hard not to watch it and not really get invested in the story because you're like, oh my goodness, this is one of the saddest things I've seen. You know, the joy of that, and there's always something about I'm sorry type of songs. It gets people all the time. I apologize. I won't do it again. Forgive me. Those are the most powerful songs when men sing. And there's so many different albums that I listen to, and they have those I'm sorry songs, and they don't release it, and they don't realize the mistake in there. So this kind of I'm missing you, come back, a vulnerability in a song hits it differently. It hits emotionally, and so you have to give credit to the director of the video for coming up with the concept of it. Whether it's you know everyone thought it was based on a true story that his wife or his partner had lost the baby and no, not lost the baby, she passed away. It was relatable, so all of a sudden you're listening to the song differently. And so it's even now when you listen to it and watch the video, you can still get connected. And it's one of those songs when we're listening to "Don't Walk Away" by Jade or "Right Here" or stuff like that. You still it will still go down as you know in the '90s one of the best ballads that came out. And so and it was different from what he did with Guy and everything. It was a very different type of song and structure. I Miss You is number two for me.
So,
Um,
yeah, I'll slide
Go
in
ahead.
real quick before we go to number one. So my number two was again "When You Need Me." I will say this though, I liked it more in memory than I did when I listened to it this weekend, and the reason why it was a little too slow. It was like it crawled, and I felt like you got to pick up the pace a little bit. I Miss You moves a bit more than it like when you. I'm exaggerating, but it was like super slow, and I'm like, yo, pick it up, pick it up. So again, I would have A&R the shit out of it. I would have shortened it, and then another thing I should probably keep to myself, but I'm not going to, is that Ralph Tresvant has a song called "Do What I Gotta Do," right?
Mhm.
So on the lift where it goes like, why I don't want to treat her cool. Oh no, do what I do. Anyway, there's a part where it goes, if I was him and I was live, I would be like, when you need me, I will be right by your side. Like I would totally act live because it works. Because you say I do what I gotta do, but when you need me, I'll be there as your friend, you know? So I've always thought that, even back in '94, all these years. And again, for the first time, the internet universe is hearing my crazy brain. in your consciousness. So there I said, Ralph, if you're listening, jacket, do it. I think it totally works.
I was gonna jack it. Bruno Mars is gonna jack that.
I like Bruno. I like him. He has a great voice. I personally like his voice a lot. I would that voice.
Good. You know, I like how international the music is. And Carlos Blosses says, I'm French, but for me, this was the best New Jack Swing album. But he says it was a shame that R. Kelly beat him, and then P. Diddy Define Music. It's
Well, one's in prison and the other one isn't. So who beat who?
Oh wow!
But I think but when we look at history, though, when we think about and when we finish our top 10, we'll probably get a chance just to reflect on where our Aaron Hall's legacy was in 90s R&B and stuff like that. But it's just interesting, just globally, everyone's take on how R. Kelly. And I actually posted a thing that what Jay sent me, which was Aaron Hall saying people said that he stole my style, but he could never steal my swag. You don't get paid for swag. No, yeah, and unfortunately, he dominated the 90s as a writer, as a producer. Everyone, his songs, his albums sold multi-millions, and so. You just, but anyway, we can debate that at the end. So we're down to our number one. But Stevie, do you want to fresh back 10 to 1?
Number 10, I had Pick Up the Phone. Interesting to what Knight said about that record. You have made me think. Number 9 is I Miss You. Number 8 is Open Up. Number 7, Let's Make Love. Number 6, Don't Be Afraid. Number 5, Get a Little Freaky with Me. Number 4, When You Need Me. Number 3, Do Anything. Number 2, Until I Find You. And number 1, it was the standout track for me back then. Still is now. It just takes me off to another planet. It's Until the End of Time. I thought the way he finished that album, his vocal on it, his vocal was outstanding. The way it fades out and you can hear him his voice. Oh, I'm just mesmerized by that. I can play it over and over and over again. It just takes me a million miles away. Outstanding record.
And as I said, that's why I mentioned that's the sort of the Charlie Wilson Gap Band track that would have been a guide track, and it was in his lane that we're familiar with, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mr. Knight.
All right. And by the way, I'm now going to go back and listen to Until the End Time again, just for that. I think this podcast sometimes can make you kind of rethink like your opinion. Now, number 10 was Let's Make Love, which got me all the cards. Number 9, Get a Little Freaky. Number 8, Until the End of Time. Number 7, Don't Be Afraid, slow interlude. Or actually, no, it's the slow version. Number 6, Pick Up the Phone. Number 5, Until I Found You. Number 4, Do Anything. Number 3, I Miss You. Number 2, When You Need Me. So my number 1 was the one I kept playing on repeat as I went about my day walking the strip here in Las Vegas. And it was the one that starts at do 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 yeah babe. Don't Be Afraid, man. The Don't Be Afraid jazz you up version. And I know why. Because in Living Color, the Fly Girls, I think J-Lo was in there, they do a routine to that version. And it was sick, and I was like, okay, it's dope that you guys came up with this remix. I would have preferred you mix both the Don't Be Afraid and the Don't Be Afraid, My Baby. They should have put them both in that remix. So let's just give it to us all, But anyway, you get the point again because I get excited. But Don't Be Afraid jazz version is my number 1, but it's a damn shame because the song is irrelevant by that point. So it's a sad thing that a remix of an irrelevant song is the best song on the album.
Wow.
Okay.
Fail.
Jay, let's go from 10 down to 1.
Okay, so remember, I don't know if my list makes any sense, but 10 is pick up the phone. 9, get a little freaky. 8, until I found you. Found you. 7, do anything. 6, until the end of time. 5, let's make love. 4, don't be afraid. Intro. That's only 52 seconds. 3, keep me crying. Intro. 2, I miss you. And number 1 for me is When You Need Me.
Nice.
My favorite song on the track on the whole album.
What was it about the song that really gets you?
When You Need Me. It was a beautiful, loving approach, to his songs, because listen to the whole thing. It was a lot of it was kind of vulgar to me, and this one, along with the one of your favorites, Until the End of Time, they both took a loving approach, and it was more gentle. So I loved to hear that. Him wanting to be a friend and a lover, and was more gentle on the song. So, and how he delivered it, I enjoyed the track more than all the other songs.
Mr. Avenia was asking about Curiosity. Is that off his second album?
I think it was just a single. I think it was like
It's on
I
the
think it was off
soundtrack,
of
on the Dangerous Mind soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's not on the list, Mr. Savagnon. Okay, that's the
I'm
difference.
sorry.
Okay.
When You Need Me should have been the first single. Like that's literally what I would have done. That would have been the big. Okay, here's Aaron's like debut album. When You Need Me is the first single. Here's the announcement. That's what I would have done because you already had Don't Be Afraid. He can do fast songs. You don't need to get it off right. Like no, When You Need Me would have been like the announcement. When You Need Me. Oh, when you need me. And other tracks, man. Like so, I think we all agree that one. I think When You Need Me across the four of us was top 5. I think so. We all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
But just I think when you echo that, it's almost like think about Changing Faces. They always start off with a ballad. So they said, "This is our lane. We can't compete. We're not going to be a SWV or Total. We're going to be ballads." And and then you had Maxwell with that little group. He could have, and I think even R. Kelly, he who cannot be spoken about, he just didn't start. He just switched from back when he did 12, but like I'm just gonna stick in a lane, mid-tempo ballads, slow kind of that, and that just became the thing. So yes, When You Need Me, if that came out and started to go, and he comes out with I Miss You, and he's bringing To the End of Time, and he's like, oh, this is your lane, then would have been something. But anyway, A&R, that's
I
the
won't
big
jump. But the thing is, ballads weren't cool. They were dangerous by like I think like I mean not up tempos weren't cool. They were dangerous because even like in the States, no one gave a F about Silk's Happy Days, which still slaps. Like, I listened to that song and it aged well, but they ignored that. Now, Freak comes out, monster, So for me, it's like it wasn't until like songs like Candy Rain and I Want to Be Down, and that was like late 94, 95. When up tempos started to become cool again. Then you had like Genuine with Pony, and then R. Kelly waited. He was smart. Then Home Alone, like that was like 98. So that's when you can start getting back into people were dancing again, but dancing was not cool between like 93 and like maybe like 95, 96. So I think R. Kelly just needed to, not R. Kelly, Aaron Hall just needed to just chill, be patient, and read the room. Even Usher, he had an album called Pop that he shelved because it's like he was trying to keep up with the NSYNCs and Backstreet, but he's like, you know what? Let me just like sit this one out and then come out with 8701 when Pop was dying, like as in like that era, and then go back to this soulful stuff. You just gotta know again. Maybe it's Usher, maybe it's his A&R, whoever it is. You've got to be strategic. This is a music business, not a music whatever I want to do and express yourself. Okay, cool. Enjoy being broke. Sorry.
No, that's no valid points. Definitely valid points. Let me see. My 10 down. Pick Up the Phone was number 10. Don't Be Afraid, the jazzy version, which was your number 1, but it was my number 9. Open Up was my number 8. What have I just done there? Don't Be Afraid, Jazz. Till the End of Time was 7. Number 6 was You Keep Me Crying. Number 5 was Until I Found You. Number 4 is When I Need You. Number 3 was Let's Make Love. Number 2, is I Miss You. And actually my favorite song on the album, and there was a time when I'll just play this song, and actually when when I made a compilation of my favorite ballads and stuff, this was on this. And it is the Don't Be Afraid, the Sex You Down version.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, it doesn't sound like it's pretty much the only thing that's the same as the chorus, the verse of the chorus, but it was a completely different song.
Yeah.
And it was this completely different track. So for me, it was like, okay, I wish he didn't even call it Don't Be Afraid, because then it would have been like, okay, he's not just then doing three mixes of a song. But I just love the vibe. I just love the sax in there. And I think actually it's, I wish they did release it as a single, but it's different. It's a very different song from When You Need Me and I Miss You and Till the End of Time. And you can just start to see there was no synergy in the songs. It was just like, here's a block of songs, here's a few songs here, and let's just put together an album. And I think it was like a sense of identity that was missing. And that's what we go back to from the beginning. When you're self-contained, you have like an R. Kelly, his songs would all sound the same. Even when he did the R album and he had track masters in, they came in with their own track, but it was still following his vibe. So you won't even know when he stopped producing, when they came in. This album was just to throw some stuff in. And but Don't Be Afraid, the one which is featuring Jared Albright, definitely my favorite song on the album. Yes, Andrew.
Yeah, so two things. Number one, Castillo Plus brings up It's Gonna Be All Right. Great track. Number one. They should have followed that. Number one. Number two, SD. No, Happy Days. I loved that song. I'm clarifying here. But the thing is, just like Gotta Love got ignored in the US because we weren't feeling that up-tempo stuff anymore, Happy Days was also ignored in the US. We were not feeling that. We want the ballads. And I think Aaron Hall was trying to do up-tempos when up-tempos were not cool in R&B in like 92, 93, really 94. That's all I'm saying. I'm thinking like A&R making hits, not whatever, but they're great songs. Don't get me wrong. Going back to what you said, I love everything you said personally. I agree with it.
Yeah.
You know
Wow.
what
I mean, go ahead, Jay.
like Charlie Wilson.
Was that?
What, sorry?
Oh no.
Oh. She'll be back shortly. I wonder if Jay, we missed you there. You just said something and disappeared.
I think her phone might have died, which means the computer is in effect, but the computer is a little.
Oh yeah, let me see. Jay, can we hear you? If you unmute the phone, unmute your computer and stuff. But while we're waiting for Jay to come back, when you can speak when you can, and we'll stop, Jay. Okay. So while we're waiting for Jay, I mean, does it feel like we're hating on the album? Because it just seems strange. Because
No, I feel like we're just being objective. Because again, I gotta say, I didn't say this in the beginning. I was super excited that this album was chosen to be like discussed, because I think it's easy to forget about the album, but at the same time, Aaron Hall was the voice of like New Jack Swing. Like he literally, someone said earlier, you know, he probably had the best voice of New Jack Swing, and I think there's an argument for that for sure. I do think.
Andrew, who was the most debated artist on the NGS3 forum?
Man, Steve Rogers loved Aaron Hall. Remember Steve?
Yeah, those debates,
Legend.
Aaron Hall, they were just.
Yes.
He was you could not say anything bad about Aaron Hall.
Oh no. You don't want it.
Debate for days, weeks on end about Aaron Hall. You just those debates were like you say, legendary. And we had Aaron Hall fanatics on that forum.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing, it's like when you get someone who's just like who only listens to like one artist and is completely fanatical, they won't accept anyone's other opinion. You know, you think you're disrespecting our. We're not. We're just offering
Yeah.
opinions. I mean, the Michael Jackson podcast we did last week. It's interesting the opinions that both Jay and Namdi had on a certain track, because it's caused a bit of a debate in the comments, and that's coming from Jay, who's like, you know, the big Michael Jackson fan. You know, the comments there are like, "Whoa, what are you saying?" I'm like, well, the girl's only she's got an opinion. She's allowed an opinion. You know, this is what these podcasts are about.
Yeah.
You know,
But it is strange because there was so I'm one of those guys that's there's a debate between Prince and Michael Jackson. So I was a Michael Jackson fan, so that meant I couldn't like Prince. I'm sure there's a few of us out there. I think there was a time I was like, no, I can't really listen to R. Kelly because Aaron's the guy. Forget about Charlie or Stevie. It was like that was what it was. But it didn't take long before by the time the 12 play and all this, I was like, oh goodness, you just can't turn away good music and stuff. And you just had to say goodbye to your old pair of trainers and rock a new Air Jordans kind of thing. And that's how it felt when Sir R. Kelly just said, okay, I was trying to be like you when I did Born into the 90s, and Vibe was like, and all that stuff. But by the time I got to Upplay, I found my voice, I found my lane, and I moved on. And so, and I wonder if that comparison and all that stuff had an effect on his career, whether we were thinking about that, and are we judging him, do we say too harshly, or do we just appreciate the fact that, okay, it's not easy stepping away from a group and trying to find his own lane?
I personally think that, to me, it's not a too harsh thing. It's just like, it is what it is, dude. Like, to me, like, I remember I was a resistor to R. Kelly. I did not like Born into the 90s. I thought it was basically like Guy plus Basic Black and into imposter music. But then when Your Body's Calling came out, I remember I was like, okay, this is a good song. And it sounds different than like, see, I'm all this problematic, like, no, Seems Like You're Ready is the worst. Anyway, but Your Body's Calling comes out, and I'm like, this is, I like this, And I was, at that point, I was like, oh, it's over. Like, Aaron, you're done, Now, so no, I don't think I'm being, you said it best. You got your old trainers, your sneakers, whatever, and they're just old. And there's these new ones on the shelf, and they're just calling your name because the soles are worn and they're beat up, and people are actually like asking, like, yo, what's up with your shoes, man? So just get the new shoes, get the new album, and like, you had your time, So and I was rooting for you, dude. I really was. There's so much more I could be saying that I'm not saying, but I'm just saying Aaron Hall did actually impact a bit of like my whole identity, my whole swag, like in 8th grade, 9th grade. Like I looked up to the dude, man, and I respect him. He's a legend.
Who is the voice of New Jack Swing?
I would say it's Aaron. I think Johnny Gill is an amazing singer. I think that's like, if you actually put them on stage and had a sing off, Johnny would probably win now. If you did it back then, I think it would have been a good show, a good versus.
Looking back now, who was the voice of New Jack Swing? It's Aaron Hall. It will always be Aaron Hall.
Yeah.
Some would argue he's a dollar store Charlie Wilson. Some would argue he's a pound shop Stevie Wonder. But some would argue he's the greatest New Jack Swing singer of all time. It's your opinion. Whatever, Some would say Diesel. There's arguments about Diesel out of Basic Black was the best New Jack male vocal out there. But again, it's all opinions, isn't it? I mean, but for me, Aaron Hall was the voice of New Jack Swing, I think.
Yeah.
Back.
I won't disagree.
Let's give him that mantle, that crown.
But then are we saying that because of the his voice with a particular sound and music, as opposed to just the fact that, because if without sort of the sound Teddy created, and along with Aaron's voice, there was a perfect marriage. If Teddy had done that for Diesel, or if he had done that for Charlie, or if he had done that for Johnny Gill, would we then start to, would that be a different debate as well? Oh, even what's his name, Big Bub.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good point, but I feel like Big Bub is more like a duke, if you will, like versus a king, if you will. And I feel like if you go back to like Teddy's Jam, both 1 and 2, like jam, like you even hear his voice sampled on different songs. So I think that in and of itself is like, yeah, like it's Teddy and Aaron, hip hop, R&B, New Jack Swing. So I think that alone, just those 2 Teddy jams, put him as the voice. Yeah, I agree with you, Steve.
Jake, are we able to hear you?
I know. I think there's a delay.
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I can't hear. Can't hear.
Maybe unmute if you're muted.
Yeah, just to see if we can, because I know you had to switch off your yeah, but okay. Oh, what a pity. But anyway, just as we wrap up, then, what's our final verdict on?
All right, what is your rating out of 10? Out of 10, what would you give the album?
I think
a difficult question for you.
Yeah, I mean, I as I said, I bought the album.
Come on, give it a rating. Is it 6, 7, 8, 9, 5?
I literally put it at 6.9.
6.9.
A 6.9. Okay.
I'll give it a 6.5, maybe 7 at most.
Yeah, that's where I was, 6.6 and 7. So I decided to give it. I think 6 feels too harsh, 7 feels too good. So 6.9.
6.5.
I would say Jay was also just saying that we can't forget.
5.
She gave it a 5. Yeah, she said you can't forget Quincy Jones putting Aaron Hall and R. Kelly on. Was it something Girl?
Heaven's Girl, I think.
Heaven's Girl.
Oh, that was an incredible record.
Yeah, it definitely was. Miss Samayor gave it a 6.5. MGS Man gave it an 8. Wow, Fragrance Place gave it an 8. Solid 7. I probably would give it a 5.5 because I don't play it anymore. I wanted more.
Album. You know what? I've not told you this, Fuse. We was going through a whole bunch of albums last week, and I picked this one. He went, "Let's do that album." So that's how we ended up doing it.
Yeah, the thing is because it's a unique album, but it's I was listening to it and I there's only half the songs that I like, but it's not an album that I can just keep playing continuously. If you think about Usher's debut album, that's like an 8 for me. The songs are different. They apart from the fact he was too young to sing them, that's a solid 90s album. 12 play, goodness. So I think it's an interesting album, and we've debated the album and the songs not the way I thought it was. I thought it will all be a love-in, but it felt almost as if we were just scratching our ways and let's it's okay and stuff. So it is really strange how this album has divided us and divided opinions.
I'll tell you what's a more stronger album. Again, it's just my opinion. I thought his brother's debut, Damien Hall, I thought his debut was a very strong debut. Very underrated album, that is, from 94.
Yes. And Damien said his biggest regret was signing with the same label as his brother because they controlled what they put out, and Aaron was the golden goose, and so you couldn't have one affecting the other, and so it was a way of also controlling things. But yes, I would say that Aaron. Yes, he tried to sound like Charlie Wilson, but that was, there's no disrespect in that. But he carved his own lane when he came out with songs that were different from the Gap Band, and that was an important thing. And I don't think you could hear Charlie's influence in him, and but he created his own sort of sound. When you sing Teddy's Jam, a song that all you're just doing is just ad-libbing and it just blows up. You can tell that he had something in there. It's just that unfortunately the album didn't age as well. A few songs did, but not all of it. And as I said, I listened to it and I went and listened to Born into the 90s and 12 Play, and I think it influenced how I felt about the album to give it a 5.5 now. But anyway, it's been great. It's a pity, Jay, because we missed your singing and your voice and your opinions as we came towards the end. But yeah, so we'll be propped up for next time. But for you guys who are watching and taking part and commenting, you don't know how much it means to us, because you make the show, because we're vibing off of you. It's like if you go to a match or a boxing match and you hear the crowd screaming, and it just hypes you up. So having you guys adding your comments to what our discussion is the best thing ever, and that's why we do it live. We do it live because we want you guys to be part of it and part of the debate. And this album, probably, Stevie, you probably can agree with me, this probably has divided more people's attention, and everyone has said a lot of different things about this album than any other one that we've talked about, and that's the amazing thing about that. So appreciate everyone. So I'm going to get final words. So Andrew, any final words about today's episode?
Again, I was really looking forward to today's episode. I do like albums that are like not obvious choices, but absolutely relevant. And yeah, I think that the differences of opinion on the tracks were illuminating and exciting to experience. So this was a fun show.
Stevie.
My final thoughts on Aaron Hall. Knowing that he had a speech impediment now, and knowing his personalities, his the ego that he's got, the nasty man, did all that come out to make up for the fact that he was insecure? Was it that he was insecure about his speech impediment? I'm just putting that thought out there. I mean, the fact that he had that, and he went on to have the vocal he does and the career he does, you got massive credit. Because some people with a speech impediment may just, would have hidden away, would have completely hidden away and withdrawn, but he didn't. And maybe the fact that ego, and maybe that was to mask that. I don't know. I'm just putting that thought out there. But as you said, I'll echo what you said, Namdi. Listeners, you could be doing anything tonight, anywhere else in the world, and watching millions of other things you could be, but you're with us tonight, and we really appreciate that. Really appreciate spending 2 hours with us, and we hope you come back next week. And we've got a huge schedule for the next 3 months. We've got our Michael Jackson expert here, who'll be creating all sorts of havoc in the coming weeks about Michael Jackson. We've got Andrew Knight, who's
new addition. Yeah,
his voice is better every week. He's singing. Maybe we will do a live concert each Andrew Knight week. Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, Jay, are we going to be able to hear from you before close, or do you think it's not going to happen?
And she can type too.
You want to be able to speak, or you don't think it'll come through?
I think she's gonna type.
Okay.
Okay.
And definitely, I would definitely say that it's been great. Oh, we can't hear you. Okay. She may type in stuff, but it has definitely been. I've always liked Darren. Think about now that we found love. Just he made that song. Just the chorus at the back. So many other things. You could hear him on My Prerogative. So much Aaron has contributed to music. I think the story has always been that the moment he realized he lost all his money, it affected him badly, and he kind of went down from that point. But it has been great that we've been able to celebrate the music, the album, and the man, despite the other side. We want to be able to appreciate him and the music, and put all the stuff aside. There's so many comments about different albums and different people, and we're gonna touch on a lot in the coming weeks. So we appreciate everyone. We will be. We've got next week today. The group today, they had 2 albums, and we're going to be combining both albums to talk about our top 10 songs across both albums. And then, there is other stuff coming, but we appreciate you tonight. We're going to make sure that Miss J is going to be able to, I would have wished she would have said, given her final word, but we'll get her back. Well, no, she's going to be with us, but we'll make sure that her phone and is able to speak and stuff, but she's waving goodbye. So everyone, we appreciate you, and we'll see you guys again next week. Take care.